Day 16 of Bookmas is here, and today I wanted to talk about some of my favorite and some of my least favorite covers from books that I read this year. Hey everyone, my name is Amanda and I'm the Fun Size Reader, and for Bookmas Day 16, we are talking all about book covers. I know the phrase, don't judge a book by its cover, but let's be real, I do it, so many people do it. There's something so important about a book cover. It either is going to draw you in to pick up the book, or it's not. I think the idea behind book covers is so hard. What do you put on the cover? How do you decide that it's good enough for the content that you have created and worked so hard on writing for potentially years? How do you draw people in? I have no idea. I have so much respect for people who design book covers, who make the decisions for book covers. I just have no clue how you even go about starting those decisions. But as a reader, I think book covers are so important because it's the first impression of a book, of your book, that I, as a consumer, have. I will say I am a harsh critic sometimes when it comes to book covers. I don't know why. I mean, the cover has to make me want to pick it up. I am more of an object cover person than I am a face or body cover person, unless it's cartoony. If it's like a cartoon, I can deal with it. But there's like a whole art to book covers. The book cover has to give you the expectation of what's going to be in the book. Because of this, it has they have different markets that they have to hit, right? I'm weird in that because there are some books that I love the book, but I really just am not a fan of the cover. And people rave about the covers and the artwork is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, but it's just not me. So I wanted to give you guys a list of books that I absolutely loved the covers. They made me pick up the books and read them, obviously, since I read them this year. Doesn't necessarily mean that I enjoyed the book, but the cover was amazing. And then a list of the ones that I just still read the book. Maybe it was super highly recommended. I saw reviews or whatever. There was something other than the cover art that got me to read it. These are going to be in no particular order. I did not rank these. I don't really have a ranking system that is good enough to try to rank them. It's not like my star system, it's different. So I did not rank them. They're just in what I thought was really great and what I didn't really vibe with. I never want to say I hated. I hate saying that about people's work. I didn't hate them. They didn't sit well with me. They were meh for me. All right, so let's start with some good. Just like with the first book, I really loved the cover for Defend the Dawn. I just think it's gorgeous. It gives you, obviously, there's the kingdom, but it has the water element in there too. And that just gives you a different vibe about the book when half of it takes place in the water. You've got, the flowers and the petals and things that are big elements to the story. And there's just something about the glowing text. I know it's Defend the Dawn, so it's glowing. And the last one is Defy the Night, so it was a little bit darker. That got that night theme. But the glow around the metallic text, it's just gorgeous. I love this cover. I love the series covers. I think they're beautiful. Whoever designed them and put together just like the concept of them, great job. These make me want to pick them up. Another one that I've liked every single cover in the series, but funnily enough, the cover actually made me think that the book was different than what it was. The Inheritance Games or the Final Gambit covers. This one I thought was just as good as all the rest of them. The chess pieces, the crowns, like all the symbolism that's in the cover and how it is woven together with like the rich filigrees. I just think it's beautiful. It gives you that vibe of the book. But When I saw these covers, well, for the first one, and I still have it shelved inappropriately on my shelves, but it's fine, whatever. I looked at the covers and I thought they were fantasy. And they are not fantasy. They are contemporary. They are like mystery, puzzle solving type books. So it makes sense once you know that about the book, why the cover looks the way it does. But when I first saw the one for Inheritance Games, I legit thought it was fantasy. I shelved it in my fantasy, and that's just where it's been residing, even though I know it's not. They're beautiful. They're very rich looking, which totally feeds into the story. And I love the color schemes for all of them, the shading. They're just gorgeous. Whoever did these, amazing. I've talked about this cover a lot, but I love the cover for Icebreaker. I think it is so cute. It totally drew me in to read the book. I've talked a lot about how it has like more of a sweet caricature vibe. And this is an example of caricature covers or cartoon covers that I really do like. I want my rom-coms to have these kinds of covers. Romances, I can see them having more real life covers. Like I didn't put this one in the list, but the cover for Every Summer After is like people jumping off of a dock into a lake. And it's very fitting for that book. It's not a caricature, but it has kind of an artistic vibe to it. The one for Icebreaker is cartoon. It's a cartoon drawing and it gives me that like rom-com feel. Now, while a lot of people looked at this and said like, oh, it's super cute, this is going to be a sweet romance, and it was super spicy, as somebody who is a romance, spicy rom-com reader, I do not get fooled by caricature covers. Some of them will be sweet. Some of them will be spicy. So like I expect there to be heat in these romances that have caricature covers. That's just the way that the trend is now. We're getting these drawn covers. I love it. I think the trend should stay. I'm a fan. I have never, ever, ever been a fan of the half-naked man on the covers. You will not see any of those in my favorites. I hate those. I wish that they would do discrete covers or like item covers or caricatures. It fits my vibe so much better. I know not everybody is that way, and it's all about like what you expect from seeing the cover, so you know it's going to be a spicier romance if you see a half-naked man on the front. It's really funny because I feel like YA really hit with the covers this year. I don't know if they just had a really good cover budget for their YA books, but the most of the ones that are on my list of covers that I really liked are YA books. Not Icebreaker. That one's not YA. I also really loved this cover for Stealing Infinity by Alison Noel. It gives like time travel vibes. The cogs and the turning, and it looks like pieces of a clock. Like whoever did this cover, beautiful. I love that it is an item cover. There's no faces. It really stands out on the black. The only thing that I don't like about it is that it's really shiny. It's really shiny, and it makes it really hard to photograph books when they're shiny because you have to get the right lighting, and then there's always a glare. And while I think that the design is gorgeous, I just wish it wasn't so shiny. Another cover that sucked me in, you guys know this one. I saw this cover and I saw all of the artwork that went into designing this whole book look, and I was like, I have to read this. I have very strong thoughts on what was actually inside the pages of the book, but the outside, love it. Absolutely love it. And that is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I think this cover design is beautiful. And it's not even just the cover, because you guys saw in my review when I looked under the cover and the whole hardback was designed and then there was artwork on the inside. Like, so much went into this book in making it beautiful and making you want to take it off the shelves. And it does exactly that. It made me want to read it. It made me intrigued. It's just beautiful artwork. And I think the next one is also out. Like the cover design is also out, and it is just as gorgeous. The last one on my favorites list from 2022 is Spells for Forgetting. I almost feel like this is my favorite cover of the year because this book for me was so atmospheric. It sucked you in And it started with the cover. This was a modern real life witch type story, like magical realism in a dark murder mystery type environment. And I got that by looking at the cover. Like, I just got that vibe. The dark trees, the fog, the like sunbursts give me this idea that there's some sort of magic in here. And I just thought it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. And I tend to really love Adrienne Young's covers. Like, her covers are amazing. Oh, I should probably talk about Saint because I do really like that one too. Adrienne, babe, whoever is doing your covers, keep paying them because they are doing such a good job. I love Adrienne's covers. They always make me want to pick up her books, no matter what they look like. These are so completely different. This is obviously adult. This is obviously YA, but both of them make me want to pick them up. And I think they're beautiful. I haven't read Saint this yet, like didn't get to it, but it did come in the mail and I did get it and it doesn't have a sticker. Now let's talk about covers that I didn't click with. And the cover was not the reason why I picked up the book. Most of these were either recommendations that I trusted people who read them and recommended them. I saw enticing videos that had tropes and elements that I wanted in a book or enjoyed in a book, or I just saw that it had really, really good reviews. So the first one is A Kingdom of Stars and Shadows. There are 2 different covers for this book. The one that I read is the most updated cover, and this is just not my kind of fantasy cover at all. I am an object cover girl. This gave you an idea as to what was going to be in the book because it was basically smut, face smut at that. And it was dark and kind of that like villainesque vibe. And you can see that from the cover, but I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan. I do not like the typical romance novel, we're like kind of making out on the cover type books. I don't like that. Not my jam. And this is just that in a fantasy version. The next one was Untainted. And I know this is an indie book. And so I can't even imagine like trying to get a cover for indie books. Like, kudos to everyone who does it. I can't imagine going through all of that. This one to me was not a bad cover. It was an object cover, which I like, but it tells me nothing about what actually happened in the book. I know it connects to like the name of the series, but to me, it's just kind of like pretty colors and crystals. It doesn't give me that enticing vibe of, oh, I'm going to pick that up. And that's why this book surprised me so much, because I looked at the cover and I was like, I'll just push it off. And then I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, fated mates, enemies to lovers, one bed, one horse, all these things, like everything that I love in fantasy books. But how would I have gotten all of that from the cover? Didn't super vibe with this one, but still really love the book and really recommend the book. Oh, the Barbarian books. I read these on my Kindle. I did not buy the physical copies. So I read the ones with the covers from the old version. These have been re-released and the new covers are super, super cute. They're caricature. They're very pretty. They're pleasing. Even though it's a big blue alien romance, you kind of get past that by looking at these new covers, right? They're super cute. This was the cover that came up when I read it. This made me cringe. It gives you what to expect. I'll give it that. It very clearly shows you what to expect in the book, but it is not the vibe. It made me not want to read it more than it made me want to read it. I read it at the urging of friends, right? And who wanted to know what I thought about it, but the cover totally turned me off. If it was the new covers, it would have been like, okay, I maybe would have read it sooner. But the old ones, not a fan at all. The next one, I just feel like you can't really tell what's going on in the cover. What Lies Beyond the Veil has a very dark cover. And I'm pretty sure there's like a snake in there somewhere, but it all fades into such dark black that like it just gives you nothing. You can tell that it's a fantasy book. The words don't really match with the story, at least in my perspective. The snake, what does that have to do with what actually happened in the book? It's just wasn't a fan of this one. And I wasn't a fan of the book either, so it like should have been an omen, but I went off of people raving about this book and I was disappointed. The cover, it's just very muddled. I don't really know what's going on. It doesn't make sense to me with what is in the book. So yeah, not my fave. The last one that I have for covers that I'm not really a fan of. Y'all are going to laugh. You're going to laugh so hard because of how much I actually love the books, but you're going to laugh because I'm not a super fan of the covers. Zodiac Academy. These covers are not my favorite. They are not my favorite. I don't know what I would do better. I don't have any suggestion as to what I would do because it still needs to have a fantasy vibe. It needs to have a dark fantasy vibe. It needs to have the bully romance, the forbidden teacher romance. Like it's got to have the darkness, which these do. But they're very busy and they're very bleh. I don't know. I know that's terrible because I love the books. I just don't love the covers. I do love the fact that they all perfectly match. Like I own the physical copies for all of them. I need 7 and 8, but I own the physical copies and they all look amazing on the shelf together. So kudos to the cover designer because they look great printed out. And they're also really shiny, so they're hard to photograph. Like, makes it difficult when you're trying to post pictures of books and show pictures of books just with the shiny covers. Don't laugh at me. I love the books. I love Caroline and Suzanne. I think Zodiac Academy is probably one of my favorite series ever, but I'm not a fan of the covers. Now, I've read so many books this year. There are so many covers to go through, but those are just the ones that I felt like really highlighted my preferences, what I thought really worked, what I thought didn't really work. But tell me, what are some of your favorite covers? Like, what are your cover likes and dislikes? Do you like people on the covers? Do you like object covers? Like, what are you feeling? Because I do think it is interesting. The cover trends change over time, and we're very much in a fantasy object cover mode right now. But that could change. We're also in this discrete cover and caricature mode for romances, which I really like, but that can also shift back very, very quickly. So I'm curious what your thoughts are. What was your favorite cover from this year? What was your least favorite cover from this year? Thanks for coming to day 16 of Bookmas. I hope you guys enjoy looking at the cover art as much as I do. Can't wait to see you tomorrow for day 17. And don't forget, you can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at The Fun Size Reader. See you guys next time.